island of silent giants, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, 2,000 miles from the nearest inhabited land, stands one of the greatest mysteries in human history. Nearly 1,000 giant stone figures, some taller than a four-story building, some weighing more than 80 tons. They have no legs, oversized heads, and silent expressions that have watched the island for centuries. This is Easter Island, also known as Rapa Nui. But who built these giants? How were they moved? And what really happened to the civilization that created them? The most isolated civilization on Earth. Easter Island belongs to Chile, but geographically, it feels like another world. It's one of the most isolated inhabited places on Earth. Imagine sailing across thousands of miles of open ocean, no GPS, no compass, guided only by stars, wind, and waves. That's exactly what Polynesian navigators did around 1200 AD. These master sailors crossed the Pacific and settled this remote volcanic island. And they didn't just survive. They built a civilization. The Moai, faces of the ancestors. The island's most famous features are the Moai statues. There are about 900 of them. They were carved mainly at the volcanic quarry of Rano Raraku. If you visit today, you'll see something shocking. Hundreds of unfinished statues still attached to the rock face, as if the workers just stopped one day and never came back. The average Moai, 13 feet tall, 14 tons, the largest ever attempted, over 65 feet tall and never completed. But here's the biggest mystery. How did they move these giants across miles of rough terrain? No metal tools, no wheels, no large animals. For years, experts believed logs were used as rollers. But newer experiments suggest something fascinating. The statues may have been made to walk. Using ropes tied to the sides, teams of people rocked the statue side to side, slowly moving it forward. In 2012, archaeologists successfully tested this theory. The giants may have walked to their final resting places. Why were they built? The Moai weren't random decorations. They represented powerful ancestors. In Rapa Nui belief, ancestors held spiritual energy called mana. The statues were placed on ceremonial stone platforms called ahu, usually facing inland toward the villages. They weren't looking out to sea. They were watching over their people, protecting them, guiding them. The bigger the statue, the more powerful the ancestor, and the greater the prestige of the clan who built it. Over time, competition between clans may have driven the statues to become larger and larger. The environmental collapse theory. Now comes the dark chapter. When the first settlers arrived, Easter Island was covered in palm forests. But by the 1600s, the trees were gone. Completely. Without trees, they couldn't build large canoes for fishing. Soil eroded. Crops failed. Resources became scarce. Some scientists argue that deforestation led to famine, conflict, and even warfare between clans. Many statues were deliberately toppled during this period. By the time Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen arrived in 1722, on Easter Sunday, he found a much smaller, struggling population. That's how the island got its European name. A new perspective. But modern research suggests the collapse story may be exaggerated. Recent studies show the Rapa Nui people created advanced agricultural systems using rock gardens to protect crops from wind and retain moisture. They adapted. They innovated. Some historians now believe the real devastation came later from European contact. In the 1800s, Slave raids and introduced diseases nearly wiped out the population. At one point, only about 111 native Rapa Nui people remained. The true tragedy may not have been environmental suicide, but colonial impact. The hidden bodies. Here's something many people don't know. The Moai aren't just heads. When archaeologists excavated some statues, they discovered full bodies buried underground. Detailed carvings on their backs. Arms, hands resting along their torsos. For centuries, erosion and sediment buried their lower halves. What most tourists see today is only part of the statue. The giants are bigger than they appear. The unanswered questions. Today, Easter Island remains one of the world's greatest archaeological mysteries. Nearly 1,000 stone ancestors still stand. Silent, unblinking, watching. Were they symbols of faith, power, competition, survival, or a warning about the delicate balance between humans and nature? Maybe the real story of Rapa Nui isn't about collapse, but about resilience. What do you think happened on Easter Island? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring the world's greatest mysteries, subscribe for more stories like this.